Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. I'm down here in Tennessee, ready to talk some Packers as we had a Packers practice to kind of recap a little bit of, give you guys an update on the injury report, including Micah Parsons. I know there's some people concerned about the back injury. We'll talk. I'll give my take on that. And we'll actually go to a tweet from a real doctor in this crazy little world that'll give us a little insight from his perspective. We'll also dive into the four cornerstones of this defense that now looks absolutely loaded for the Green Bay Packers, even though they played great last year. Man, oh boy, I'm telling you, they're looking like they're ready to turn the corner to a whole nother level. We'll hit on that. And then if we have time, we'll hit on the Packers offense versus the Lions defense as well. Before we get into it, though, guys, if you would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media members, nothing like that. What we are fans just like you, talking Packers on the daily, doing pregame shows, postgame shows, film breakdown, the whole 9 yards. So if this is the type of content that you're looking for from a Packers perspective, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we go live like this right here. And the same as we did earlier this afternoon. Tim, you doing okay, bub?
Yep, happy to be here, man.
Good deal. So, guys, we're going to have a little bit shorter episode tonight. I apologize. Unfortunately, had a death in the family, so we've got to wrap it up a little early tonight. That's why we're going live a little early. And then we will also tomorrow, good chance there won't be a show. I'll get with the guys, see if they want to do one, but we'll be on the road back and forth to Kentucky tomorrow, but we'll definitely be back on Thursday. So let's waste no time and get into it, Tim. Let's talk about what happened at practice today, man. And I think this is good news for me. Wes Heikowitz tweeted out, big day in Green Bay. Micah Parsons, number 1, Matthew Golden, 0, debuted their new numbers. Savion Williams, Zane Anderson, Barron Sorrell all returned to practice. Now, the two that kind of, really all three surprised me a little bit, Tim, when you look at this, man. I mean, you're talking about Savion Williams. I think he's a little bit behind schedule, although we know he's been able to study the playbook. He's been able to kind of stay up in that regard, right? But we know it takes a little time to ramp up for the season, for the NFL season, and making that adjustment from college to pro football. So it's exciting that he's got a chance to get out on the field and get a few snaps under his belt. Zane Anderson, I think he could be a key contributor this year. I think he's one of those players that personally, not many people look at him like, hey, this guy could play a role if for some reason Evan Williams gets banged up. If Evan Williams gets banged up and Zane Anderson's completely healthy, who knows, man? They may put Zane Anderson in there at safety and leave our boy Javon Bullard at the nickel, right? So you don't have to shuffle too many people around. Right now, my money would be on, if there was an injury, that Javon Bullard would kick back to safety, and then you'll probably move Nate Hobbs over to the slot, something along those lines, or maybe even Keyshawn, who knows? But it's awesome that Zane Anderson's getting healthy. And then Barron Sorrell, I caught a little grief because when I heard the news of the injury and I think it was the MCL, if I remember correctly, Tim, you guys know I was saying, man, I don't know, man. To me, it sounds like he's going to be back sooner rather than later. And then we're hearing 4 to 6 weeks. And then, hey, it depends on the level grade of tear or sprain, whatever you want to call it. There in the knee for Barron Sorrell. Man, if he's practicing today, it sounds like obviously he's not on PUP. He's not on IR. This dude's going to be ready to go sooner rather than later as well. What do you think about those injury updates there in terms of the guys returning to practice?
Yeah, as far as the returns, I mean, great news all around, right? I mean, let's be honest. Zane Anderson, to your point, he's proven, I think, the last year and a half that he is a real person. He's not just a special teamer. He's, a legit safety, at least in a backup fashion. And then Savion Williams, a guy that we had a couple question marks, coming out of the draft and going into camp. What is he going to look like? And then Barron Sorrell with the friendly fire in week 1 of the preseason. Right. To see all three of these guys returning to practice before week 1 makes you feel really good, man. It really does. To me, the most surprising was Barron Sorrell. I think that just shows that, the youth is a real thing, right? he got a little friendly fire, wasn't anything super major, no surgery, and he's practicing. So all signs point to yes when it comes to these three guys for sure. So I'm happy.
Definitely. Now, some other news here around the injury front. Only Nate Hobbs and Elton Jenkins not going on today's extra Monday practice. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll get our first injury report, I believe, on Wednesday, if I remember correctly, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the injury report. So hopefully Nate Hobbs and Elton Jenkins will be ready to go. However, if Nate Hobbs isn't ready to go, I'm not panicking, Tim. I want Nate Hobbs out there, don't get me wrong. But let's say that Nate Hobbs and Elton Jenkins are not available for this game. What you're going to probably have is Sean Ryan playing center, right?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not over the moon about that, but Sean Ryan to center, I don't feel horrible about that situation, especially with how banged up the Detroit Lions are at defensive tackle, right? So,
amen. And then if Nate Hobbs is not a go, then it's CV, right?
Right, exactly.
Let's just call up CV.
Yeah, and you guys know how I feel about Carrington Valentine. I think he's a dude. I think he's a guy that really played well last year, that kind of went under the radar. And I'm very excited to see him when he does get his opportunity. So the point there is, don't rush those guys back. Listen, I want to beat the Lions as much as anyone, right? But if you're gonna throw a wrench into the whole season by potentially hurting Elton Jenkins long term, it ain't worth it, right? I like our chances with Sean Ryan going up against their banged up defensive tackles, me personally.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that. And like you said with Nate Hobbs, plug Carrington Valentine in there. Don't risk it with Nate Hobbs. We knew it'd be a little bit of a push for him to be ready week one, although if you asked him, he said he's going to be ready week one.
Yeah.
And again, this is an extra Monday practice, so we'll see what happens tomorrow, Tim. That's going to be the big thing, right?
For sure. You got to love Nate Hobbs, right? That's his attitude all the time, right? If I can walk, I can run. If I can run, I can play. I mean, that's a guy that's just going to give you, nothing but
belt to ass, BTA. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's Nate Hobbs in a nutshell, right? And I think the only concern that I might have offensively, if we have to put Sean Ryan at center, if Big E is not a go, we've got Jordan Love, who's just now taking snaps and getting over that thumb injury on his left hand. Continuity at center is an important thing, in my opinion, and I think since Jordan took over as a starter, it's kind of been musical chairs there for him these past couple of years. So I would love to see Big E out there week one just for continuity with QB1 in our center. But I'm with you, man. I think you can do a lot worse than Sean Ryan holding it down for you on a Sunday.
Yeah, and if you guys tuned in earlier today, we released a video where I did a live stream and played a clip from the Pat McAfee show, an audio where Adam Schefter gave an update on Micah Parsons, and everything in that video, everything in that audio that we played from the Pat McAfee show today, it sounded like he thinks Micah Parsons is going to play, right? Like he's good to go. Well, shortly after that, he puts this tweet out there, and I'm going to tell you what I personally think it is, and I could be completely wrong. The fact that he said what he said on the McAfee show and then came back with this tweet, it kind of feels like the same thing that happened with Adam Schefter. You guys remember what happened with Adam Schefter when the Jaden Reed story that he wanted to be number one? It kind of felt like one of those, and I'm going to explain what I mean here in a minute. Here's what the tweet says. Packers linebacker Micah Parsons has been dealing with an L4, L5 facet. Is that how you would say that? Facet joint sprain in his back, and he may take an epidural injection prior to Sunday's game versus the Lions if needed to help him play, per sources. What do you think those sources are? Didn't come from the Packers, I promise you that. That came from his camp. I'll explain why. Before trading Parsons last week, the Cowboys prescribed him a 5-day plan of anti-inflammatory corticosteroid, I believe, and
prednisone.
Good job, Tim. To help him recover from back tightness, they also made him had him on a physical therapy program. Parsons has been practicing this week and is trying to play in Sunday's opener versus the Lions, though one source said it still is uncertain if he will. Now, what source is that? In my personal opinion, that's coming from his camp. That's coming from his agents. Now, keep in mind, Jerry Jones is still completely butthurt over this trade. I promise you that, right? I don't know if you guys are keeping up, but everybody is making fun of the Cowboys for this trade. Now, Micah Parsons refusing to practice, said he had a back injury. What I personally think this is, especially after Adam Schefter went on the McAfee show and basically downplayed everything and like, hey, this guy's going to play, and then immediately tweeted this out. I personally think this is Micah Parsons' camp covering their rear end, right? They're going, hey, look, it was actually this, this, and this. We don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, it's probably because we got an epidural. Now, nobody will know if he got the epidural, right? Because, you don't have to release that information. There's actually laws that protect that information unless you offer
You might
it up.
find out after the fact, right? Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So me personally, I don't think you've got anything to worry about there. I could be completely wrong. We may look up Sunday. He's got a legit back issue and he doesn't play. I personally don't think that's going to be the case. Now, I want to give a shout out to someone on Twitter here, Dr. Brian Stutterer. All right. He and just so you know, this isn't somebody with 300 followers, got 56,000 followers, sports medicine doctor, injury education, YouTuber, PMNR trained, opinions are my own is what it says in his profile, his bio here. He says that move, talking about this move at practice here for Micah Parsons, I'll roll the tape and let it just loop while we're talking about this. That move loaded with the back arch in extension is the worst thing you could do if you I think he was trying to say if you have faucet joint pain. So no, I'm really not worried this is a long-term issue at all. So again, when you see him at practice doing stuff like this, I'm sorry. There isn't a snowball's chance in hell they would have him out here doing overextensions like this if they thought for a second he might not be ready to go Sunday. Now, it doesn't mean he can't have a setback, but I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm feeling like this is just his camp covering their back. Hey, look, there was something, and we're playing it safe. That way, a grievance can't be filed, obviously, by Jerry Jones.
I agree 100%. And, when I see this, I have that kind of initial reaction too. Like, if it was that bad, would he really be doing what we see him doing out here today? I mean, initially, I just feel like, kind of like Matt LaFleur,
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
That's kind of my initial reaction. But I'll tell you this, back stiffness, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he missed camp. He hasn't gone out and hit anything in a while. I think it's pretty normal to have a little bit of back stiffness. I don't know if we want to, go to the extremes and think that this is something crazy, but if they feel like it's going to limit him and, they feel like, hey, you can miss week 1 or you can take the shot and go out there and play for us on Sunday. If Micah takes the shot and goes out and plays, it tells you all you need to know about Micah Parsons, right? Guy wants to be out on the football field, but either way it goes, he's still the new face in town. We know he's a monster. I would fully anticipate, if he is suited up and he is going to play on Sunday, we're going to see 10 to 20 snaps from him. I don't think they're going to just throw him into the fire, right away. Regardless of what's going on with the back, but I think you're right, man. It might be a little bit of posturing just to make sure that there's no funny business coming out of Jerry World here going forward. But I don't know about you, seeing him out there, with VO hitting the sled, he looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, I agree. Ed Madden, a member here on YouTube, says if Micah has serious questions about his back, the Packers training staff wouldn't have him practice, and he looked plenty explosive today. Completely agree there. So again, I don't think there's anything to worry about here. And Tim, you said 10 to 20 snaps. I think you said. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the majority of snaps, not meaning all the snaps, but I personally think that they're gonna march him out there with maybe the same rate in which they marched Gary last year, which what was it, like 60% of the snaps or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little more bullish on it than you are. We'll see it'll probably fall somewhere right in the middle though, I would imagine. So we'll see how it shakes out for sure.
Bottom line, we both agree he's going to be on that field on Sunday, right?
Oh, no doubt about it, man. And then of course this guy right here, man, my goodness, Bill Huber tweeted this out. And let's just play it with the audio here. Listen to Adrian Cooper hit this play. Here's a guy. Ooh. One more time. Tim, Adrian Cooper has put on some weight. Look how thick that dude is, bro. Like he looks like an absolute freaking monster. And the fact that he is going to be paired up with Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and going to have Quay right there in his hip pocket. Tyron Hopper had a hell of a preseason. I mean, man, this is exciting stuff here, dude.
Let's take a look at Quay, right? Cordell George's own. Quay's a big boy too. Look at Coop just lift him right off his feet here on this drill. Something amazing. But I agree, man. It certainly looks like he's a little more bulky than he was this time last year. And another difference between this time this year and this time last year is the fact that Adrian Cooper's got a full training camp and preseason underneath his belt. And really exciting to see him going into week 1 for sure.
Yeah, 2-0 for this in the chat. Says Cooper and Micah are about to be a nightmare. And I always tell guys to do this. Watch his feet. Watch his feet. Don't look at anything other than his feet. He is so twitched up. It's not even funny, dude.
Yep.
Look at that. That is insane, man. It's amazing. You see everybody go out and play football on Saturdays and Sundays. You don't think nothing of it. And then when you key in on certain drills and you focus on one part, like the footwork right there, it's like, damn, what a world-class athlete that dude is. So, again, going to be exciting to see how he looks on Sunday as well. And he looks – there's
you got to
no
love a linebacker with footwork like a receiver, right? You know,
yeah, no doubt. And, linebackers, they have to have footwork much like a running back, right? I mean, that's the it's a very similar position on defense to the offense, at running back and linebacker. It's very, very similar, being patient to the gap, to the hole, making the tackle, exploding through at the right time, the start, stop, shoot. Just like you see Josh Jacobs, patience in the backfield, find the hole, hit it, and don't look back. I'm telling you, man, this is exciting stuff with Edgerrin Cooper. So I wanted to get into something here that I put together over on Patreon. If you guys want to support the show, the best way to do so is over at our website, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 gets you access to everything there. It also gets you entered into the giveaways, which we're going to be giving away another autograph card. I'll pluck one out. We'll probably do another autographed Lucas Van Ness rookie card this weekend for the post-game show. It feels so good, Sam. We got a post-game show this week, Tim. Oh, my God.
Coming, baby. Let's go. We got a pregame show coming up, too. Pre and post games. Let's go.
Absolutely. So patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access is where you can find this article, or it's not even about articles. I'm not in here trying to write wordy articles. What I'm doing is getting together data that I think is important, right? And just compiling it together and going, hey, here's some stuff to look for, guys. Here's some stuff to really key in on. So let's get into it. I said Packers have 4 cornerstone defenders this year, all right? Defensive defenders. So when you look at it, these are the PFF grades from last year, okay? Micah Parsons, 90.0. Edgerrin Cooper, 85.6. Xavier McKinney, 84.7. Zane Anderson, only 122 snaps, 80.8. He's not the other one. The other one for me is Rashawn Gary. And I wanted to just take a second. We showed you the Edgerrin Cooper clips. We showed you the Micah Parsons clip of him hitting the sled and looking like an absolute monster. Let's talk about the roles that all 4 of these guys are going to play here, okay? And before we do, let me hit these real quick before we get behind. Hardy the Prophet, been a member for 11 months. Appreciate you, Hardy. You're the man, buddy. Micah is definitely ready, and I saw a Vikings fan prediction for our season. He said we are going 7-10, 7-10, and that J-Lo is going to sink us in the playoffs. LOL. I left him a nice message on the video. I bet you did, sir. Man, they are so delusional right now. It's not even funny. I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in the NFL season, but anyone who looks at this Packers roster in preseason thinks, oh, they're going to win 7 games. Man, I don't know what you're looking at, but Patrick Bloom with the super chat. Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate you. Says, with Micah now making our defense unbelievable when he lines up at linebacker, will he play Sam or just move around all over the field?
Yeah.
The whole Sam thing for me, guys, I think it's way overblown. When I hear people talk about Sam linebacker, I try not to comment because I don't want to dog people or anything. I mean, Sam is a technical thing in the NFL. It is, okay? What a Sam is a strong side backer. They're going to line up on the strong side of the formation. It typically is Sam. If you're going to go out in some kind of a jam front, they will be on the line of scrimmage. To me, that's an edge defender. That's what that is. That's an edge defender in a 5-man front. So when you start talking Sam, when I think Sam, I think of a 4-3 stack backer that lines up on the strong side of the formation, typically on the tight end side of the formation, right? That's what I think of a Sam as. The problem is we're only going to be in our base 4-3, 15% of the snaps on defense on average, right? So when you look, 25% of the, maybe even less than that, depending on if you go to a heavier set. But nonetheless, the majority of the time, 70 to 75% of your snaps are going to be in your nickel 4-2-5, and there's not even a Sam on the field, right? Now, if you go to a 5-man front there, to me, I don't look at that as a nickel 4-2-5 with the Sam. I look at that as a dime package because Micah Parsons is going to be playing edge in that specific situation, right? So are there situations where you go in and you play a specific team and you want to, hey, I want to have a traditional, stack backer at Sam and we want to play Micah there? I guess it's possible, but I would much rather have Micah on the line of scrimmage in a jam front. And in that case, it really does just become it essentially comes a 34 jam, which we ran a lot of last year that people didn't even notice. That was something that we mixed back in from the Joe Barry days. I know people don't want to give any credit there, but with that being said, I think they will play him around, in different areas, maybe not on Sunday. I think what you're going to expect from him is look for him at the wide 9, look for him at the 7. They'll put him at 5. They'll kick him at 4-eye. The thing I'm most excited about is when they put him at Joker in the A gap over top of the center, standing there, mugging the A gap. I think that's something that'll happen as well. So imagine a 3-man front, everybody spread out kind of wide with a 3-man defensive front, and then having Micah standing in the A gap as that Joker, right? And then having your other 2 backers stacked behind him. Essentially what that is, guys, is a nickel 3-3-5 cub is what that is. So you're a cub. However, Micah's still rushing. It's still a 4-man rush, and they'll get really creative there. And
what a great compliment to the nickel 2-4-5 that we see them run, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, that's where you got to stay ahead of the game. You got to stay ahead of the game planning from your opponent. And that's why it's important to mix and match. But, yeah, thank you for the super chat, Patrick. Again, I think he'll play some stack backer, but most of the time he's going to be mugging the line of scrimmage. And in terms of Sam, he will be the edge defender on the strong side of the formation from time to time. It just depends on, honestly, what they're looking to run from an offensive standpoint. What's their scheme? Do they run majority weak side or do they run strong side? If they run weak side a lot, what I'm looking for is an under front where you'll play under the tight end, Micah in probably a 5 to 7 tech, and then you'll have another backer on his outside shoulder to help out with the run. That's what I think will happen there. And then Gary, they'll just let him do his thing. People run away from him anyway. So
with everything that we run in this scheme too, right? It's not necessarily where you line up. It's where you end up. We've seen the stunts and the twists, and we've seen the sugar. We've seen it all. Just another weapon in this defense for Jeff Hafley, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, guys, all football is attacking space and defending space. There's only a handful of calls that can actually be made on defense. That's what's crazy. Like, you could go to a cover 3 defense and you might have 10 variations, but they're all covering the same space, right?
Get over here! Belt to ass, BTA. You know what I'm saying?
Scared the hell out of me. So you'll have specific situations where you'll go, okay, this team doesn't attack the seam much. Let's play some cover 2 hard flat, right? Which is essentially everybody bought underneath. Let the safeties do their thing because we're not worried about them attacking with a trips or a trace set and those type of looks. And then there'll be other defense. You go, hey, we need to go to quarters this defense because they're going to flex. They're going to have, 4 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers in the tight end. They're going to look to attack on the tray side or the trip side. And that's where you got to play some of that zone match where you've got, the inside corner to the 3. If they're going speed to 3, you might want to bracket cover a little bit to take that speed to 3 away. If they put their speed on the isolation side, on the boundary X side, you might want to bracket cover over there to help a little bit and buzz the box. There's a lot of different ways you can approach it. But Patrick with the super chat says, again, okay, so in the 4-2-5, will Micah be beside Quay or Coop or just on the edge, period? I think in the nickel 4-2-5, the large majority of the time, he will be on the edge. That's what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah. Now, will there be times where they go, you know what? When we got 1 or 2 plays or maybe 1 or 2 slight packages where, hey, if they go to this look, if they send in 10 personnel and we want to keep a couple backers on there as opposed to just going to our traditional dime set, then they may march Quay off the field and put him back there at stack backer in that situation. And that will look like a nickel 4-2-5, right? But I think he's predominantly going to be on the edge in the 4-2-5. I do not see a scenario where they're just going to play him the majority of the snaps at stack backer, because that means Quay comes off the field now, right? And I don't think they want to do that. I think they really believe in what Quay does at stack backer. And you want Micah Parsons rushing the quarterback because, whether he has
Quay streaking down the field in coverage too, right?
Yeah, you want him covering the seam. There's no doubt about it. And let Edgerrin Cooper play mid down is what I would like to see.
That might be very well what Micah Parsons is to this defense. That piece that's going to unlock the potential for these other guys to just do what they do best, and we all work together, right?
Yeah. And again, I don't think anything is like definitive here, Patrick. I personally believe there is going to be a little bit of flexibility, and they're going to find what Micah does really, really well and how it fits into what Hafley does and how it plays alongside the other players and their personnel that they got. However, look for him at edge, especially early on, because that's something that you don't have to really learn the playbook. It's just, hey, go out there on the edge, make sure you set the edge, and just get after the quarterback type thing. So appreciate the super chat, buddy. Let's move along here, Tim. So the first piece is obviously who we've been talking about here: speed rusher / hybrid stack backer Micah Parsons. Look at these PFF. Starting in 2021, you got an 89.7, then a 91.8, a 92.4, and a 90.0. Keep in mind that 2021 grade of 89.7, stack backer, predominantly stack backer. They started firing him on dog blitzes, and all of a sudden they're like, hold up a minute, we might want to start putting him at edge. And I believe it was either his second or his third year when he started playing edge. But nonetheless, man, that dude as an edge defender, if these are all marked as edge, which that first year shouldn't be, but even if it is, in 2021, those PFF grades, he was the first at his position. 2022, he was second at his position. 2023, second at his position. And 2024, sixth at his position. So,
and a 65.5 run defense grade. Excuse me while I choke on my own words talking about his run defense. We'll take that, right? 65.5 grade. That's not his strong suit, but it certainly isn't terrible when you look at a lot of guys in the league.
Right. People hear 60 grades and they think that's a bad grade. That's not a bad grade, guys. Like 65 is just kind of above average, right? Average to above average. And you hear that and go, okay, well, that's not good. No, what that means is that's kind of par for the course all the way across the league. That's not bad. That's farthest thing from bad, right?
65%.
65%. That's what I was waiting for. When you get into these 90 grades, though, and then that coverage grade is 76.9, absolutely huge. We got Jacob joining us now. Jacob, you doing all right, Bubba?
I'm doing great. Just getting ready for a fantasy football draft that's going to happen in about a half an hour here.
There you go. Good stuff, man. All right, moving along. So, again, I think that's the number one cornerstone piece to this defense, right? Micah Parsons, obviously the addition there as a speed rushing hybrid edge defender, right? Next, you got stack backer / hybrid in Edgerrin Cooper. His grade last year, 85.6. He was the fifth highest graded stack backer in the entire league. Look at his pass rush grade, guys, 90.0. Okay. Now, typically stack backers, when they're firing, whether it's a delay, a dog, or a scrape, or whatever kind of blitz you want to call it, those grades are going to be significantly higher, right? Understand this. Micah Parsons' pass rush grade of 91.6, far more impressive than a stack backer who's catching an offensive line off guard firing on a blitz. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. But the coverage grade, 77.3. The overall defensive grade, like I said, 85.6. And the run defense grade for Edgerrin Cooper, 77.2. Love the fact that he's going to be paired up with Micah. So again, when we talk about the positions of importance, tier 1, edge and 3-tech, right? Edge and 3-tech. And tier 2 is Mike backer, stack backer, really, because Mike and Will is very interchangeable in any defense across the league. And then, of course, post safety. So when you look at what's important on defense, we got tier 1 covered. Other than the 3-tech, that's the only thing we lack. And some people believe that Devontae Wyatt is that dude. I think he's got the ability to be that dude. He's in the 90 percentile in terms of pass rush. In terms of, I think it was pressure percentage on true pass sets, if I remember correctly. Run defense, a little sus. That's all right, though. The run defense was one of our strengths last year, so you're not overly concerned about that. So if Devontae Wyatt continues to step into that role as the 3-tech of the future here, then you're going to be set. You've got all bases covered. Edge, 3-tech, Mike backer, or Will, however you want to call it, and then post safety in this next guy, which is Xavier McKinney, who graded out an 84.7 last year. All right. So starting in 2020, a 70, 75.4, 61.2, 87.5. And then last year, he graded out an 84.7 in his first year in Jeff Hafley's defense. So again, now you got post safety covered. Now here's the beautiful thing about X. They'll bring him down in the box. You know what I mean? They'll let him buzz the box in a cover 3 buzz. They'll let him, roll down and play robber if you're in a cover 1 man, and let Evan Williams play post safety. The point is, at each level, you've got elite players now, and that's really exciting, Jacob. When you look at this defense, man, I mean, you've got the blueprint is just absolutely set here. It's in place, and these guys are going to be together for years to come. That's what's awesome.
Yeah, it is incredible to think that the window we always talk about is so wide open. I watched Goody and LaFleur's press conference, and they kept reiterating how this just doesn't happen as far as getting Micah Parsons at the age he is. And I would argue the same thing shouldn't have happened with X. I mean, that should not have fallen into our lap. Arguably the best, if not top 3 safety in the league. Just all of a sudden, when he's 26, the Giants say, "Hey, you know what? We've seen enough. We don't want to re-sign you," and lets him kind of just walk right into our arms. You know, I don't know if you heard Ryan's podcast when he was on vacation still. It was very like a very spiritual, very like kismet. Like this, something is happening. Something's coming together in Green Bay for all the pieces to fall perfectly how they have. It's like, I couldn't have ever expected it 2 years ago if he would have told me like, hey, what's this team going to look like? And in 2 years from now, I would have never guessed that we'd have Josh Jacobs, Xavier, a guy like Cooper coming up, Gary. Oh, and by the way, we're going to sign Micah Parsons, just the best edge defender that's in modern era. It's like, I kind of got to shake myself off and you know, kind of snap out of it because it feels like we're in a fever dream right now. But crazy. I'm telling you what, man, I have never in my life been more excited for a Packers defense ever.
Makes me feel good about, you know, holding the strap, protecting Goody these past couple of years while he was building this team, right? And everyone was complaining about free agency moves or trades and draft and all these things. Here we are 3 to 4 years removed from this process. Don't forget, we're only 1 year removed from Goody flipping that safety room in one off season.
Dude, unbelievable.
Putting us where we are now. And then we get another off season. Look at the draft he put together and look at the trade that we just finalized with Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay. I mean, you got to tip your hat to Gangster Goot, man, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We got William Herman with the super chat. Thank you so much, William. Appreciate you. Says Clayton, if you haven't seen it already, check out Brett Coleman's video from Parsons' rookie year titled Micah Parsons Does Literally Everything. He literally does do everything. Man, again, watching him and how twitched up he is. His rookie tape, I think, it might be the most impressive of all of his tape. And he's been a stud the last 3 years, right? But that rookie tape was like, what rookie comes in the league and can do that type of stuff? Here's what's scary, William. Everything we're saying about Parsons, our boy Edgerrin Cooper, other than PFF grade, some believe that he had a better rookie year than Micah Parsons. Now, he got a slow start, Coop did, if you'll remember, because, you know, he was a little banged up. Look at the snaps per week. Right? What was that? 9, 7, 18. Then he jumps to 21. Then he's up to 30. You can see where the coach is like, oh, hell, keep him out there. What are we doing? Right? And obviously he had to get healthy. So, yeah, I mean, that's, again, Cooper he's the same type of player as Micah. He's not as speedy of a pass rusher as Micah, but he's, I feel like, a much more stout stack backer in that regard. For sure. So, but I'll definitely check that video out, William. Appreciate the recommendation there, man. Let's see here. Joe in the chat earlier said, the little Giants defense on the goal line, shift the line towards the heavy side and just have Parsons run opposite. It worked for Danny O'Shea. One of the best movies. I'm just telling you.
Love it.
The annexation of Puerto Rico.
That's right. You said it with the perfect accent, too. That's awesome. Romero Hill asks, is Parsons a better Matthews? Yes. Yeah. Here's the thing. People were comparing Micah Parsons to Reggie White, and I had to go, whoa. Let's pump the brakes here.
I said the same thing, and then I saw the film of Micah doing the hump move and tossing a defensive or an offensive tackle with one hand like a rag doll. So I think the comp might be there. You never know.
Yeah. For me, personally, I think you can't compare two totally different people. That's the way I look at it. Like when you're talking about in terms of Reggie could line up in he could play nose and blow the middle of the lineup. He could play in a 3-tech and dominate there. They would kick him out the 5 and 7-tech, and that's where he'd use that hump move and just, toss tackles, right? You're talking about a different style of player. Now, if you're just talking about overall in terms of how good are they at what they do, I personally believe Reggie White, Micah Parsons is right below him. And the thing about Reggie is he did it for so freaking long. Yep. I mean, he didn't get to Green Bay. What was he, like 32 years old when he got to Green Bay or something crazy? Am I thinking right?
30, 31, something like that.
Yeah, it was like he was on the backside of his
several years with the Eagles prior to his time in Green Bay. And then obviously, I believe he was in the, not the CFL. Was it the CFL before?
UFL or something
USFL.
USFL,
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so again, Reggie did it for much longer. If Micah continues at this pace that he's going, absolutely, we'll be talking about he's just as good, if not a better player than Reggie. Right now, I just can't. I'm too drunk to taste that chicken. But Reggie here, Micah here, Micah, every year of his career so far has been better than Clay Matthews' best year. That's not dogging Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews was an absolute dog. But I think we would all agree Clay Matthews probably ain't getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Micah Parsons is on track to be a slam dunk Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I see the comp though, right? Like with Clay and Micah, right? Like Clay, both guys could play, stack, or they could play on the edge. I think it's a matter of who you think's a little more lethal, and I think you're right. Micah's probably just a little more lethal at this point in his career.
Yeah, and for me personally, I think that Micah Parsons is a much quicker pass. I mean, Micah Parsons, guys, he ran a 4.340.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And I'm trying to remember what Clay ran, but I want to say somebody look that up for me in the chat. If you would, Jake, kind of keep an eye out for it when it comes through.
Yeah.
I know Clay Matthews didn't run a 4.340.
No.
It might have been a 4.5. I was thinking it was a 4.6, but it might have been a 4.5. But I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a stud. And I love Clay Matthews, one of my favorite all-time Packers. But Micah Parsons built a little bit different for sure. I do think Parsons is a better Matthews, though. That's the better comp in terms of the archetype, the type of player that they are, as opposed to comparing them to Reggie White for sure. Let's see. Chris the Casuan, this makes a 43-year-old feel like he's in his mid-90s. Amen. Been there, buddy. Got the T-shirt.
Preach.
Holmes MD1 says, Jay, dude got lit. Clay ran a 4.5. There you go. Thank you so much, Holmes. Appreciate it. So there it was, a 4.540. So again, 4.340. Think of how fast.
Bates is saying he's seeing 4.67 for Clay.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. One might be combine, one might be pro day. You know how that goes, right? Maybe a 4.62 is what he's saying. So regardless, yes, Micah Parsons is way, way faster than Clay Matthews. And Clay Matthews
put the team on my back, dude.
Exactly.
You know what? When I was watching some film, I didn't get to be there for the chalk talk for Micah, but I think like what I see with the comparison between him and Matthews is they both, I feel, were really good with their hand movement, their chop, their rips, their blocks, that kind of stuff. Like it seems like too that they both had kind of like a stutter step sometimes when they're coming off the edge, and then like they'd kind of make the tackle kind of overcommit, and then they're really good at swiping away hands and just kind of being very violent with the upper body.
Yeah, that's a great point, because that's what Reggie used to do all the time, right? Get that guard or tackle's weight moving in one direction, bait them, and then just ass over tea kettle, right? Big guys are going to fall. You get that weight moving in one direction for sure.
Yeah. So the fourth piece, I should say, as a cornerstone is you've got a run-stopping edge defender in Rashawn Gary. And I love that he settled into that role last year. Still had 7.5 sacks, still led the Packers in quarterback pressures, right? I felt like still was a dominant pass rusher. That's just me personally, based off what we seen on tape and what they asked him to actually do. If you're just looking at box scores and you're just looking at grades, yeah, I could see it. You'd be like, well, he wasn't great. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't great. When you watch the tape and see what they actually asked him to do and see how his run stop rate led all edge defenders last year, now he doesn't have to press into being like this elite pass rusher. He can continue to do what he did last year because you got Micah Parsons on the opposite side. This is why we were so hesitant on this particular program about the Micah Parsons trade when people were talking about 3 firsts and Rashawn Gary. I'm going, boys, if we do that, our run defense is going to take a huge hit, right? Because that's not Micah Parsons' strength. He can do it. We showed you he's not bad. But what you're seeing with Rashawn Gary here, his PFF grade last year, 73, his run defense grade, 72.8, pass rush grade, 66.7. Again, led the Packers in pretty much every statistical category from a pass rush standpoint, and still had the most run stops of all defensive linemen for the Packers as well. Rashawn Gary and Edgerrin Cooper were the reason the run defense finished second last year in yards per carry allowed. Those two guys, they're back. They're 2 of the 4 cornerstones, in my opinion. So I'm excited about these 4 pieces. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but anything else y'all want to add to this conversation in terms of these 4 guys? Go ahead and read that, Jake, if you want.
I like what William Herman said right here. He said, here's the Packers front 7 40 times. Parson, 4.37. Cooper, 4.51. Quay, 4.52. Gary, 4.5N. LVN, 4.58. And our big boy Wyatt in the middle is 4.77. He goes on to say that's the most athletic front seven ever assembled.
Heard it from a fan right here.
It's pretty impressive.
That is wild, man. Thank you for looking those numbers up, William. I mean, dude.
That's insane.
And here's the thing, like, they're talking, fans are talking about, are we going to be the best defense in the league? It's possible. Guys, we don't have to be the best defense in the league. The thing that I'm most excited about, Jacob, when you put those up on the screen is if one of these guys go down, we're okay. We're good. You know what I mean? And don't try to play them out there hurt and don't overdo that. Let guys heal up and just go to the – we didn't even mention Brenton Cox Jr. Brenton Cox Jr. finished the year damn near at 14% pressure rate. Like, and this is NFL Pro. These aren't the imaginary numbers over at PFF. You know what I mean? Like, you can go watch the tape and see the pressures. This dude had far fewer snaps than Kingsley Enagbare. I want to see that flip. And as soon as I say that, what did Kingsley Enagbare do this preseason? He just went out and graded out in the 90s. That's all. Like, as Matt LaFleur said the other day, man, you can never have too many good pass rushers, period, case closed. So we're covered there. And I love the fact, too, that, the big negative of the offseason was, man, I'm really worried about this cornerback room. Guys, notice when I say positions of importance, tier 1, edge, 3-tech. Tier 2, mock, post safety. I don't even mention corner. Now, is it nice to have good corners? Yeah. But we do.
We have good corners.
We had Jair Alexander, the highest paid corner in the entire National Football League. Where did it get us?
Yep.
Right? Now you're kind of pressing into, okay, let's continue to build up this pass rush. Let's build up the stack backer position. Let's build up the center of the defense. Think of it from an offense's perspective. If you've got a Tuesday player, a player that you got a game plan around, and you go out there and you look to read the defense, and they do a little pre-snap rotation or whatever, and you look up and you go, okay, post-snap, where is Xavier McKinney? Where is 56 Edgerrin Cooper at? Where are those guys? You snap the ball, they're right down the hashes. If they're right down the hashes, right in the center of the field, then guess what? It would probably make sense for you to work outside. And as you work outside, you've got 3 extra defenders on both sides of the field called the out-of-bounds line. So if you build the center of that defense stout, and then you get a good 3-tech that can get after the quarterback and push that pocket while Rashawn Gary, LVN, and now Micah Parsons is pinching on the quarterback and not rushing out of control either, keeping gap integrity. Don't let them go Tommy DeVito on you and scramble all over the place because you're rushing 8 yards up the field, and just compress that pocket. That's how you end up damn near leading the league in turnovers and takeaways, with interceptions, pressure pick, coverage sack. So anything else on these players you guys got before we move on?
No, just to back up that point, like you said, I mean, a good front, pressure rate and, performance in the trenches is going to take the pressure off your secondary, regardless if you have good or great players in the secondary. It goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, definitely does.
One thing I would just say is it's insane to me how big of a rotation, how awesome our depth is at the edge position. I mean, you talked about Brenton Cox Jr., but Kingsley Enagbare has had a hell of a preseason, and I really do think he's going to be firing at all cylinders. We haven't even mentioned LVN, and then let's not forget Barron Sorrell, a guy that was, again, the best. What did he have? More pressures and more quarterback hits in the preseason than any other linebacker, and he played 1 game. So, I mean, dude, the sky is the limit for this group.
Yeah, that statistic was out of all rookie edge defenders this preseason, Barron Sorrell led the entire league preseason-wise in quarterback hits, and he only played in 1 game. So that's a dude that's just – and again, you've got so much depth at edge. If he's not ready week 1, don't activate him. Mm-hmm. Let him get healthy, right? You're not in a bad spot there personally. So that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to break down the Packers offense versus the Detroit Lions defense. We'll see you over there. Appreciate you.